I'm going to stray briefly away from my train video to talk about another YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is called This Is Our Retirement, and it's hosted by Norm and Tina. Basically, they outlined what they did and what they experienced in going into retirement and that, but they also had a great set of videos on how to get your YouTube channel going, which I watched as I was just starting this YouTube channel at the time. I actually emailed them back and forth, and they were very helpful to me to get my channel going and very inspiring to me. So with great sadness, I have to say that Norm recently passed away, and now Tina's going to soldier on and run the channel by herself. So if you get a chance and you're interested in potentially finding out what they've experienced or looking to retire yourself or are already retired, check out their channel. I'll leave a couple of links in the comments section, one on the YouTube channel, one of their more recent videos as well. So check it out, and so let's get into the train video. So our journey started in Niagara Falls. Now, this picture is a little confusing because it shows an Amtrak train. It's a relatively recent picture taken in the 21st century, not in 1979, but the station's accurate. This is Niagara Falls, Ontario, and that's where the RDC picked us up. So I'm going to now show on the map where the first leg of the journey went from and to. So basically we started Niagara Falls, as I said, headed out, went through St. Catharines on the CN main line along the Lake Ontario, through Hamilton, up through Bayview Junction, and then we arrived at the Burlington train station, which is where it used to be. Here's a picture of the Burlington, or known as the Freeman Rail Station, which this photo is from CanadaRail.com. And fortunately, this rail station was saved and has been moved, and I believe is now at a railway museum in the Burlington area. After a great breakfast at a nearby diner, we headed back to the train station to catch our next train. While waiting, a tempo train, which was a special passenger train run by CN at the time with a high-speed geared RS-18, as seen here in the picture. I do apologize for the quality of these pictures, as it was a Kodak camera that I used at the time, not a high-quality camera, but these pictures are historical pictures in my mind, and that's why I want to share them. So along came afterwards our CP RDC unit running as a TH&B passenger train between Toronto and Buffalo. So we left Burlington Station, headed back through Bayview Junction, but this time crossed over onto the CP/TH&B track, up the escarpment through Smithville, Welland, and on to Fort Erie, and then across into Buffalo, and ended up at Central Station. While traveling through Welland, Ontario, we saw some interesting locomotives. One was one of the TH&B GP7s, number 73. Unfortunately, by then, Unit 71 had already been destroyed in a wreck, which is the first engine built at GMD Diesel Division in London, Ontario. Next, we saw this unit, obviously still basically in the Penn Central colors, but lettered for Conrail, CR, Unit 7432, a GP9, which originally was purchased as a New York Central engine, and then of course became Penn Central, and then finally Conrail. While traveling on this leg, the crew was nice enough to let us stand up at the front of the RDC, basically where the cab is, and have a view from their perspective. As you can see here, we're approaching the tunnel underneath the Welland Canal. At that time, there were 3 tracks. I believe there's only one now, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And then from there, we journeyed on towards Fort Erie and Buffalo. After we went through the tunnel or the Welland Canal, we ended up going on solely Conrail track, which hadn't been very well maintained. So we were at a massive speed of 10 miles per hour or so, which was excruciatingly slow. We then got to the border at Fort Erie where U.S. Customs came on board, and that was about an hour wait. So finally, after crossing the International Bridge in Fort Erie over into, I believe it's called Black Rock in Buffalo, we saw a Conrail freight waiting to come back across. It was being led by a GP7 5942 in the new Conrail blue colors, and it was a former Erie Lackawanna GP7. After a relatively short ride, we arrived at Buffalo Central Station. Fortunately for us, this was actually the last year that they used that station for any trains. So we were maybe one of the last passengers to use it, at least the last year anyway. This picture actually got off of Wikipedia. The station is still there, but as you can see, the tracks don't go there anymore, which is kind of a shame. It's a beautiful old train station, but it has been protected. Our next leg was from Buffalo to Rochester, which I'll show on the map in a minute. It was a fair distance, and it was really cool because the Amtrak train that picked us up was being led by, I believe it was an E8. Unfortunately, my picture didn't turn out very well, so I kind of trashed it. So here's a picture I got actually off of the internet, off of railpictures.net, and the photo's taken by a Donald Haskell. And there's an E8 leading an Amtrak train here, very similar to the one that we rode on. So we left Buffalo Central Station, heading directly for Rochester, making really good time, unlike the 10-mile-per-hour track we experienced on the Conrail in Canada. After a relatively short layover in Rochester, we walked around the city a little bit. We caught a train heading back towards Buffalo, then on to Niagara Falls, New York. It was behind a much newer F40PH. So we head from Rochester back towards Buffalo, where we actually saw the TH&B RDC there at Central Station, along the river, and ended up in Niagara Falls, New York. There's one leg in the journey that I haven't mentioned, and it was a bit of, I think, a flaw in the plan. So the plan was to walk from the Amtrak station in Niagara Falls, New York, eventually crossing the International Bridge back to Canada and walk to the Via train station in Niagara Falls, Ontario. My father had a look at that, and he thought that was a bit of a hike, especially after a long day of riding trains. So he drove over to Niagara Falls, New York, and picked us up in his Impala, and somehow we all squeezed in there. I still am not sure how that happened, and somehow we got across the border. I don't know if they let us across today, all packed in there like sardines, but we did. We got back to Niagara Falls, Ontario, and went home in our separate directions. So I feel lucky to have ridden those trains, especially the TH&B train from Burlington to Buffalo. Also to have utilized the station in Burlington, which is now a museum, and the station in Buffalo, which no longer has rail service either. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please press the like button, and you can also subscribe to my channel. Take care.